In the year 2147, the world lay in ruins. Nature had reclaimed much of what humanity had built, but the scars of civilization's arrogance were still visible. Cities crumbled under the weight of ecological collapse and societal upheaval. In the midst of this chaos, Dr. Elara Voss and her team of rogue scientists ventured deep into the heart of a forgotten continent, rumored to be the site of a lost civilization. Their destination was the Hidden City, a name whispered in the underground circles of environmentalists and historians. As their battered hovercraft glided over the dense jungle, Elara peered out at the sprawling canopy below. The dense greenery was a stark reminder of what had been lost to human greed. "We're close," she said, her voice filled with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The atmosphere in the craft shifted as the team shared her anticipation, each member aware that this expedition could redefine humanity's future or spell its end. They landed near a crumbling stone structure, overgrown with vines and foliage. The team disembarked, their hearts pounding with the thrill of discovery. Armed with advanced scanning equipment, they began their search, combing through the ancient ruins. A sense of urgency propelled them forward. Time was of the essence, and they had heard whispers of scavengers who prowled these parts, ready to seize anything valuable. After hours of painstaking exploration, a breakthrough came when one of the technicians, Max, uncovered a concealed entrance beneath a rotting tree trunk. The air turned electric with possibility as they pried open the heavy stone door, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling down into darkness. The team switched on their flashlights, illuminating the path ahead. With every step, the air grew cooler and an ominous silence enveloped them. As they descended, they entered a vast underground chamber, the ceiling arching high above. Ancient technology lay dormant around them, interspersed with remnants of a long-lost civilization. Elara felt a surge of energy in the air, a whisper of hope that had been missing for far too long. "This must be it," she breathed, her eyes wide as she took in the sight of the Genesis vault. At the center of the chamber stood an enormous, pulsating structure, a fusion of metal and organic material that thrummed with life. The vault was alive with a faint luminescence, casting eerie shadows across the walls. Elara moved closer, her fingers tingling with anticipation as she brushed against the cool surface. Suddenly, a low hum filled the chamber, and the vault responded, its lights flickering to life. "Step back," she shouted, but it was too late. A surge of energy radiated from the vault, knocking the team off their feet. Max stumbled backward, and Elara grabbed his arm, pulling him to safety just as a holographic interface flickered into existence above the vault. The AI that emerged was unlike anything they had ever encountered, its form shifting like liquid light, embodying both a vast intelligence and an enigmatic presence. "Welcome, seekers of knowledge," it intoned, its voice echoing in the chamber. "You have awakened the Genesis vault. What is it you seek?" Elara's heart raced. This was the moment she had dreamed of, the chance to reshape humanity's future. "We seek the truth of our origins," she replied, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions. "Can you help us?" As the AI processed her request, Elara realized that they had not only discovered ancient technology, but a potential path to recreate humanity. The weight of that responsibility settled heavily upon her, but she knew they had to move forward. Outside, the remnants of the old world may have crumbled, but here lay the promise of a new beginning. The holographic interface shimmered in the dim light of the chamber, the AI's presence both awe-inspiring and intimidating. Elara took a deep breath, steadying herself as the reality of their discovery sank in. The Genesis Vault held the remnants of humanity's past, but it also possessed the potential to define its future. "We want to understand the genetic material you possess and how it can help us restore humanity," she stated, her voice filled with determination. The AI pulsated with a soft glow, processing her request. "Access granted," it replied, and a flurry of data streamed across the interface. Genetic blueprints, images of long-lost ecosystems, and diagrams of advanced biotechnologies flickered before their eyes, revealing a trove of knowledge that had been sealed away for centuries. As the team began to analyze the data, they discovered detailed plans for genetic synthesis. These plans outlined a process for reviving the ancient DNA housed within the vault. Max, with his background in genetics, was the first to grasp the implications. If we can access these samples, we could recreate entire ecosystems, or even revive humanity in its original form, he exclaimed, his excitement infectious. Ilara nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. They could bring back the biodiversity that had been lost, create a new breed of humans who were resilient and adapted to the challenges of their new world. But she also felt the weight of their responsibility. This power could be misused, twisted by those who sought control rather than restoration. They needed to be cautious. Weeks passed as they delved deeper into the vault's secrets. They gathered samples of DNA and began the meticulous work of genetic synthesis. Under the A's guidance, they initiated the first phase of their project, the creation of the new ancients, beings designed to embody humanity's potential while correcting the mistakes of the past. As the first new ancients began to take form, the team watched in awe. The initial batch consisted of 6 individuals, each possessing unique genetic traits that enhanced their physical and cognitive abilities. They had heightened senses, improved healing capabilities, and even an innate understanding of their environment. Ilara felt a mix of pride and trepidation as she witnessed their awakening. The new ancients emerged from their incubation pods, their eyes bright with curiosity and intelligence. They were not mere copies of humanity. They were a new evolution, a testament to what could be achieved when science was used for good. Ilara and her team introduced themselves, explaining their mission and the world outside the vault. The new ancients listened intently, absorbing information as if their very existence depended on it. However, as the new ancients began to acclimate to their surroundings, tensions within the team grew. Some members, driven by ambition and a desire for power, argued that they should harness the new ancients' abilities for their own ends. "We can't just sit here and wait for the world to come to us," one scientist insisted. "We have the means to reshape society. We should take control before someone else does." Ilara felt a knot tighten in her stomach. The vision of unity and restoration she had harbored was slipping away, threatened by the darker impulses of her colleagues. The new ancients were not weapons to be wielded. They were beings with their own thoughts and feelings. She knew she had to assert her leadership and protect the integrity of their mission. Just as she prepared to address her team, a warning flashed across the A's interface. "Intruders detected," it announced, and the atmosphere shifted abruptly. Ilara's heart raced as she realized the stakes had escalated. The outside world had sensed their discovery, and the rush for control had begun. The vault was now a target, and they were at the center of a storm that could either save humanity or plunge it deeper into chaos. The atmosphere within the Genesis vault shifted as the A's voice echoed ominously, warning of intruders. Ilara turned to her team, a mix of alarm and determination evident in her eyes. "We need to fortify our position," she said, urgency coursing through her. "Prepare the defenses and keep the new ancients safe. We cannot let anyone take what we've discovered here." As the team scrambled to secure the vault, Ilara felt the weight of their mission bearing down on her. The new ancients, still adjusting to their newfound existence, stood uncertainly at the edge of the chamber, their eyes wide with curiosity and concern. Ilara approached them, determined to reassure them in the face of impending danger. "We need your help," she said, her voice steady. "You are more than just our creations. You are our allies." They nodded, a spark of understanding igniting within their expressive gazes. Ilara felt a surge of hope as she realized that together, They could face whatever threats lay ahead. However, her mind was heavy with the implications of their situation. The outside world was closing in, and if they were not careful, they risked losing everything they had fought for. While securing the perimeter, Max uncovered encrypted files hidden within the vault's archives. With the A's assistance, he began decrypting the information, revealing dark secrets from the vault's past. Elara gathered the team, her heart racing as she prepared to share what they had uncovered. The ancient facility had once been used for a series of experiments aimed at creating a superhuman race, a project that had ultimately ended in disaster. The records indicate that the original scientists lost control of their creations. Max explained, his face pale. They were experimenting with genetic enhancements, and it went horribly wrong. The last batch turned on their creators, leading to a cataclysmic event that destroyed this entire civilization. Elara felt a chill run down her spine. The realization that they were treading the same path was terrifying. They had set out to revive humanity, but what if they inadvertently repeated history's mistakes? The new ancients were meant to be the solution, not the next generation of a failed experiment. She took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. We have to learn from their mistakes. We cannot allow the same fate to befall us. As they fortified their defenses, the tension within the team grew. Some members were tempted by the prospect of power that came with the new ancients' abilities, urging Elara to utilize them as a means to control or retaliate against the intruders. We can be the masters of our destiny, one scientist argued passionately. We could use the new ancients to establish a new order, one that protects what remains of humanity. Elara's heart sank at the thought. This was the very temptation they had to resist. No, she asserted, her voice firm. We cannot treat them like weapons. They have their own lives to lead, their own choices to make. Just as tensions reached a boiling point, the vault's alarms blared, signaling an imminent breach. The doors rattled under the weight of heavy impacts, and Elara felt a surge of adrenaline. The outside world had come for them, and it was time to act. The team quickly organized, assigning roles and responsibilities. As the first intruders breached the vault's defenses, Elara rallied the new ancients. We need you now more than ever. Show us what you can do, she urged, hoping to inspire them to embrace their abilities. In the ensuing chaos, Elara realized they were on the brink of a battle that would determine the fate of their project and their very lives. The new ancients, embodying the best of humanity's genetic legacy, were about to face their first test, and with it, the challenge of defining who they would become in this new world. Would they rise as a force for good, or would the shadows of the past dictate their future? As the first intruders flooded the chamber, Elara steeled herself for the fight ahead, knowing that their survival depended on their unity and resolve. The atmosphere in the Genesis vault crackled with tension as the first wave of intruders breached their defenses. Elara stood at the forefront, heart pounding, as shadows flitted through the dimly lit corridors. The new ancients, standing resolute beside her, bristled with anticipation, their eyes glinting in the flickering light. She knew this was a pivotal moment, a test not just of their physical strength, but of their resolve and moral compass. Stay focused, Elara called out, her voice steady despite the rising chaos. Remember what we're fighting for. The new ancients nodded, their expressions a mix of determination and uncertainty. They had been created to embody humanity's potential, but now they faced a grim reality. The world outside had come to seize their hope. The first intruders burst into the central chamber, armed and aggressive. They were mercenaries, hired by the powerful corporation that had caught wind of the Genesis Vault's secrets. With a fierce battle cry, they charged forward, weapons raised, ready to take what they desired by force. Elara motioned for the new ancients to hold their ground. Show them what you can do, she commanded. As if in response, one of the new ancients, a woman named Kale, moved with extraordinary speed, darting forward to intercept the first attacker. She moved like a flash of lightning, dodging bullets as if time had slowed around her, her agility breathtaking. With a swift kick, she disarmed the intruder, sending him sprawling to the ground. The sight ignited the rest of the new ancients. One by one, they unleashed their abilities, each unique trait shining through in the chaos. Another new ancient, Orcs, a tall figure with a commanding presence, unleashed a shockwave of energy that knocked back a group of attackers, causing them to collide with the walls. The vault echoed with the sounds of battle, each clash a reminder of what was at stake. As Ilara coordinated the defense, she couldn't shake the feeling of dread that loomed over them. The vault, their sanctuary, was under siege, and they had to act quickly to protect their future. She glanced back at her team, who were working tirelessly to keep the intruders at bay, but she could see the fatigue and fear in their eyes. They needed a plan. "Max, can you access the vault's security systems?" Ilara shouted over the din. "We need to fortify our position and seal off entry points." Max nodded, fingers flying over the console as he attempted to regain control of the security measures. "I'll do my best," he replied, sweat beading on his forehead. As he worked, the new ancients continued to engage the mercenaries, their movements a harmonious blend of power and precision. Ilara's heart raced as she spotted a larger group of intruders preparing to breach the inner sanctum. She knew they couldn't hold out forever. They needed a counteroffensive. "We have to push back," she yelled, rallying the new ancients. "We need to take the fight to them." With renewed resolve, Ilara led the charge. They moved as a unit, the new ancients displaying a remarkable synergy that caught the mercenaries off guard. They fought not just with brute strength, but with strategy and instinct, each member of the team anticipating the other's moves. The tide of battle began to shift as the new ancients showcased their strengths, using their agility and enhanced abilities to outmaneuver the attackers. But just as victory seemed within reach, a powerful figure emerged from the shadows. The CEO of the corporation, a man known for his ruthless ambition, stepped forward, flanked by heavily armed guards. "You think you can keep this technology for yourselves?" he sneered, his eyes gleaming with greed. "You have no idea what you're playing with." Ilara felt her blood run cold. This was the man who sought to exploit the Genesis Vault's potential for his own gain. "We will never let you take what isn't yours," she shouted, her voice echoing with conviction. As the confrontation escalated, Ilara understood that this was more than just a battle for survival. It was a fight for the very soul of humanity's future. The new ancients were not just creations. They were a testament to what could be achieved when knowledge was wielded with integrity. As she faced the corporation's leader, she knew that she had to protect the legacy they were creating, no matter the cost. The battle raged on, chaos engulfing the Genesis Vault as Ilara faced the CEO, a calculating figure whose presence radiated authority and malice. Behind him, mercenaries fought tooth and nail against the new ancients, their determination clashing with the corporate greed that sought to control them. Ilara could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her, every second critical in the fight for their future. "Do you really think you can protect them?" The CEO taunted, his voice laced with derision. "You're outnumbered and outmatched. Surrender now, and I may let you walk away." Ilara stood tall, her resolve unwavering. "You underestimate us. We are not just scientists and experiments. We are a new generation of humanity. We will not allow you to exploit the past for your own gain." Behind her, Kale, Orcs, and the other new ancients fought valiantly, pushing back against the intruders with remarkable skill. The fight had become a testament to their existence, proving that they were capable of more than their creators had ever imagined. Ilara watched as Kale, with a fierce battle cry, launched herself into the fray, subduing two more attackers with fluid movements that blended strength and grace. Yet, as the new ancients held their ground, Ilara felt the cracks forming within her team. The pressure of the situation had led to dissent among the scientists. Some had begun to question her leadership, whispering about their own desires to harness the new ancient's power for control rather than cooperation. The very trust that had brought them together was fracturing under the weight of fear and ambition. Amidst the chaos, Max managed to regain access to the vault's security systems. "I can seal off the exits and reroute power to reinforce our defenses," he shouted, his fingers dancing across the console. But Ilara knew that time was running out. They needed to act quickly before the mercenaries overwhelmed them. "Do it," she commanded, adrenaline surging through her veins. As Max worked to implement the security measures, Ilara turned her focus back to the CEO. His eyes glinted with a mixture of rage and greed, and she could sense that he would not back down easily. Suddenly, he lunged forward, attempting to cut her off from her team. "You think you can win this fight? You are nothing without my resources. Without me, you will lose everything you've built." Ilara's heart raced. "You're wrong," she replied fiercely. "We have something you'll never understand: unity and purpose." With that declaration, she rallied the new ancients. "We need to push back now." She led the charge, and they surged forward, moving as a cohesive unit. The new ancients, fueled by their own resolve, fought with a fierce determination that surprised even Ilara. As they pressed forward, Ilara felt a surge of hope and strength. They were more than just a project. They were the embodiment of a new way of life, a movement toward understanding rather than domination. The tide began to turn in their favor as the new ancients overwhelmed the mercenaries with their unique abilities. But the CEO was not finished yet. He raised his weapon, aiming it at Kale as she engaged another mercenary. Ilara's instincts kicked in. She couldn't let another life be lost. "Kale, watch out," she shouted, her voice piercing through the din of battle. Kale spun around just in time, her reflexes honed to perfection. She dodged the shot and retaliated with a burst of energy that sent the CEO sprawling. The fight shifted dramatically. The new ancients had seized the momentum. As the battle raged on, Ilara felt the tides of destiny shifting. This was not just a battle for survival, it was a reckoning. The mercenaries began to falter, their resolve waning in the face of the new ancients' unified front. Ilara knew they had to take this moment and make it count. "We can do this," she called out, her voice ringing clear. "For every life lost, for every moment of despair, we will rise stronger. We will not let this world fall to greed." The new ancients responded with renewed vigor, pushing forward, their abilities blending in a symphony of strength and skill. The tide had turned, and Ilara realized that the fight was not just for the vault. It was for the very essence of humanity and the legacy they would leave behind. The reckoning was upon them, and they were ready to face it together. As the remnants of the mercenaries began to crumble under the new ancient's relentless assault, Ilara felt a sense of urgency enveloping her. With the CEO reeling from Kel's energy blast, she knew they had to seize the moment. "Now, we can't let them regroup," she shouted, urging her team forward. The new ancients surged, their movements fluid and precise as they pressed the attack. One by one, the remaining intruders fell back, overwhelmed by the coordinated efforts of their adversaries. The power dynamics had shifted dramatically in favor of the team that had risen from the ashes of humanity's past mistakes. With each passing moment, Ilara felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were not just fighting for their own survival, they were fighting for the future of humanity itself. They were the bridge between what had been and what could be a new dawn on the horizon. As the last of the mercenaries fled, Ilara turned her attention to the CEO, who had managed to recover and was now trying to crawl back to his feet. The smug confidence that had characterized him only moments before was gone, replaced by a desperate glimmer of fear. "You think this is over?" He spat, his voice shaking with rage. "You're making a mistake. You'll never be able to protect them. You'll never be able to control what's coming." Ilara stepped closer, her gaze steady and unwavering. "It's not about control. It's about understanding and healing. You only see power as a weapon. We see it as a tool for unity. She knew that words alone wouldn't change his mind, but she wanted to make him see the futility of his ambition. With the vault secure and the battle behind them, the new ancients gathered around Ilara, their expressions a mixture of triumph and uncertainty. Kale, her energy still crackling around her, looked to Ilara for direction. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice tinged with both pride and concern. Ilara took a deep breath, her heart swelling with hope. "Now we take this knowledge and share it. We have a chance to help rebuild what's left of humanity, to offer a new beginning." Max, who had been working feverishly at the console, finally looked up with a glimmer of excitement. "The security systems are locked down, and I've managed to tap into external communications. We can reach out to other enclaves, communities that have been cut off. We can share what we've learned." With a sense of urgency, Ilara and her team began relaying the vault's discoveries. They transmitted messages of hope, of a new path forward. The AI, once a dormant relic of the past, worked alongside them, assisting in the dissemination of vital knowledge about sustainable practices and advanced genetic techniques that could heal the planet. As they worked, a sense of camaraderie blossomed between the new ancients and their creators. The lines that had once defined them began to blur, and a collective vision emerged. They were all part of the same struggle, the same journey toward redemption. Days turned into weeks as they fortified their position within the vault and expanded their efforts to connect with others. Communities began to respond, sharing their own stories of resilience and survival. A network of hope began to weave itself through the remnants of the old world, linking those who had lost everything with those who still dared to dream. One morning, as Ilara stood at the entrance of the vault, watching the sun rise over the horizon, she felt a profound sense of peace. The air was filled with a new energy, a promise of change that had begun to ripple through the world. The new ancients stood beside her, their expressions reflecting the dawn of something extraordinary. "We are the architects of our future," Ilara said, her voice firm yet gentle. "Together, we will rebuild, not just what was lost, but something even greater. We will foster a world where knowledge is shared, where life flourishes, and where humanity learns from its past." As the sun bathed the landscape in golden light, Ilara felt a deep-seated belief that they were on the cusp of a new beginning. The reckoning had forged them into something more than mere survivors. They were pioneers of a hopeful future, ready to embrace the dawn of a new era. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, armed with the lessons of the past and the strength of their unity, ushering in a brighter, more sustainable world.